Hi guys, so in the words of the legendary Monty Python, now for something completely different. Hi guys, so this video is going to be something a bit different to the normal. As you can see, I'm in my bathroom. What I want to do is do a wee video of how I go about using a straight razor. And I do a few things that are kind of quite different to what I see on a lot of the other tutorials that I can see on YouTube. So I thought it would be quite good just to have an example of the way I do it, and maybe there's some things in it that would be of use to somebody who's starting to do it or just getting into it. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to take you through all the different steps that I do and just highlight a few hints and tips of things that I find particularly useful, things that I've learnt along the way. And I've been probably using straight razor for about a year and a half now, so I think that's kind of long enough that I know what I'm doing, but it's not too long that I've kind of forgotten all the wee mistakes and things that I learnt in the early stages. So it's probably quite a good time to demonstrate the different things and just show you a few of the different ways that I do things that are maybe a bit not normal. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of, one of the main things is, I think for anybody that's getting into straight razor shaving, is you really got to get to know your own face, and you find that there's certain areas where the bristles don't grow quite in the way that you expect them to. For instance, I've got a few areas on my face where some of the bristles under my chin here, they grow out the way, and then I've got an area down here where they grow to the outside, and an area on my neck here where they actually grow to the inside. So it's getting to know your face and getting to know the different ways that you can actually shave well in the different areas. And the other thing that I think is really important to point out is that for beginners especially, you don't want to really be trying to do everything at once. It takes quite a while to sort of build up that muscle memory so that you can shave safely. So one thing I always recommend is that to start with, you only actually shave your cheeks, because that's the easiest bit to shave. And really, once you just learn how to do that and safely and just comfortably and confidently, then you can move on to the other areas. The hardest parts really are around about the nostrils and underneath your chin. So I think it really does pay in the early stages just to do that one, the easiest bits with the straight razor, and then finish off with your normal disposable or whatever you use. So let's get started. Okay, so I've probably got the most sensitive skin in the world, so my preparation is quite long-winded. Normally I shave after I've been in the shower, so I've already washed my face in the shower, and I've probably got the bristles quite soft and quite moisturised, hydrated in the shower. But I still go ahead and apply some more heat and moisture using a flannel at the sink, and then I apply shaving oil as well as putting on a good thick lather as well. So I'm basically doing everything possible to make my shave as easy as possible. You don't have to do all those things. Most people probably just get away with just using lather. In fact, the shaving oil that I use sort of does actually claim that you can use it on its own, although the times I've tried that, it's not been very successful. So first thing I'm going to do just now, quickly wash my face and then just show you how I quickly sort of warm my face up and hydrate the bristles as well, just using a flannel. So I'll just do that quickly. It's going to be noisy though. So just go ahead now and use a flannel to here. Washing the face is good because, and obviously as I said, I do that in the shower normally, so it basically gets the the bristles to all sort of stand up a bit as well, so it sort of stimulates that, just that massage motion gets the bristles to sort of stick out quite nicely from the skin, and then they're easier to cut through. So I'm going to just use the flannel now to just do a bit more to moisturise things and make things all nice and warm. Softens up the bristles. So some nice hot water on there. Yeah, that's nice and hot. Do once more. So this is all just softening up the bristles and just making them ready to shave nice and easily. Okay, that's perfect. So my next step is to apply the oil. Really it doesn't take much. Just a few, I put one wee drop on each of 3 fingers now. I just basically massage that right into the bristles. And I kind of concentrate quite a lot on my chin area here, because that's obviously the hardest part to actually shave. I've deliberately not shaved for 2 days just to make this a bit easier to follow. So I'll probably put a wee bit more on than normal. I'll have to put an extra one just on my moustache area there, just to give that some extra attention as well. Just keep massaging that in. Okay, that should do. The next thing I do is I get my shaving brush and my shaving mug, so I fill up the shaving mug with some nice hot water. But one little tip with the shaving mug and the brush is not to have it too hot, because I'm sure I actually damaged the brush in the early stages because I had the water like way too warm. So I'm just going to put the brush in there just now and leave that to soak for a bit. Because the next thing I'm going to do is actually strop the razor, so I'll change positions and I'll show you how I go about doing that. Okay guys, so stropping. Now there's a few things I do differently here. I see a lot of guys online, they take their strop and they hold it in front of them like that and they go out and back. Whereas that kind of, the way I've got it set up, it's just on a cup hook underneath the windowsill there. I actually prefer to stand with it a sort of more across the way and strop side to side like this. It just seems to make more sense to me and it's a bit easier. The other thing I do is I'm quite particular about holding the strop quite tight, and I'm also very particular about going right to the edge before I actually lift the blade and turn it over. And I always turn it over on its spine, so you turn it that way rather than going the other way when you're obviously a chance of you cutting into your strop or making a mistake. So I'm very particular about staying on the strop the whole time, even right up to the end, and actually stop at the end rather than doing what a lot of guys do, this sort of lifting motion. And to me that's just asking for you to end up with a rounded blade as you're sort of totally skimming off the top of the actual strop like that. So the way I do it is I go like that, and I do that about 30 or 40 times, depending on how much time I'm in a hurry or not. So you see I actually come to a total standstill at the end of each line. And I'm using hardly any pressure. Another key is to just have a nice easy grip on it, like a pencil grip that a lot of people talk about, just holding it like a pencil, which is pretty much what I do there. So you're just spinning it around on its spine at the end of each stroke. really all there is to it. And all you're doing when you're stropping is you're just lining up the edge so it's nice and straight and getting rid of any sort of loose bits of metal right on the edge. There you go, stropping done. So we're ready to start shaving. Well, once you make a lather, of course. Okay, so let's make some lather. I'm using the shaving cream. I quite like this Pro Rasa stuff. I've been using it for a while now. And I basically just, I've got a broken bit of a plastics knife that I just use as a bit of a spatula, and I basically just grab enough, just like sort of maybe a thumbnail's worth on the end of the spatula. What I would say when you're using this stuff, make sure you close the thing back up. The first time I went through one of these tubs, I didn't bother actually closing it up, and I ended up at the end it was like really dry. Wasn't much use. Didn't even lather very much, it just got all horrible. So try and keep it moist. So brush has been soaking away nicely. I usually give it about 4 or 5 wee dumps like that just to get most of the water off. And then I just pop the cream into the shaving mug and just start working up a lather inside the actual shaving mug itself. This is like way easier than using soap, I think, because you can basically put a lot of elbow grease into it and you can get quite a really nice lather with the cream especially. And as you put quite a lot of force into it, because the way these things are designed, they're designed to sort of hold the brush in position, and you can really squeeze all the water out of it. And it doesn't really take long before you can build up a really nice creamy lather. Just like that, so that's perfect. Which I'll move you over and I'll show you how I actually go about putting that on my beautiful face. Okay, so let's put some lather on the face. The good thing about having some actual bristles on the face is you can actually continue building up the lather on your face just like you would if you were using soap. And obviously as well the actual action of doing the building up the lather on the face helps to stimulate the bristles a bit more and make them stick out even further so that they're a lot easier to cut through. Now I like to have a really thick cushion of lather on my face, so I tend to just build it right up so it's really nice and thick. And the other thing I do, which is actually my top tip of all, is to actually get the, if you scrape the lather off the brush into the mug, then you can get a really nice load of lather. You can just basically plaster onto your face like this. So you end up with a really nice thick lather on the face. Now, most people you'll see on the YouTube or wherever you see people doing tutorials on how to shave, is that they'll start with the sides and the cheek and probably try and do one whole half of the face and then switch over to that. I kind of mix it up a bit. One thing I'd definitely say about when you first start off is try and use both hands. You'll use your right hand to do the right cheek, but switch over to your left. It'll be awkward to start with, but it's honestly, it's worthwhile just really persevering and learning how to use your left hand in the same way that you use your right. So I don't actually start there. I start with probably the hardest bit, and that's underneath my moustache area and my nostrils. And the other thing I do a bit differently is I don't actually use my right hand to do my right side of my moustache area. I actually switch over. I start with my left, so I'm making it like as totally hard as possible just right off the bat. Basically I just start here, and I just find it easier working that way round about the nostril area. I don't know why, it just seems easier to actually use the toe of the razor to get into my nostril, because I do have quite a few hairs like right in there that I need to get at. So I'll just get started. And you can see I just take wee nibbles, just very short strokes, and also kind of learn to use your tongue underneath to try to actually poke bits out and make things tight and flat as possible, just so that you can shave as efficiently as you possibly could. Another thing I would say is as you get down onto your chin, make sure you're using the whole blade, not just the front. It's fair enough to just use the toe of the blade in around the nostrils and stuff, but now that I'm getting down into a sort of flatter area, a wider area, I can employ the whole length of the blade. You also might notice that I actually almost hold the blade still and actually move my face up against it, which is quite an interesting technique. I find it works quite well. Okay, so that's what I call the first quarter, and then I'll just rinse blade. Another thing was that when I rinse my, I'll show you later actually how I go about it, but I just basically rinse the soap off, and I use a tissue rather than a towel, because I just find that I started off using a towel, but I just find it got really really dirty and manky, as we say in Scotland. So I find it much easier to just use a tissue to wipe the lather off the blade. You've got to be careful. When I first started doing it, I actually cut right through the tissue and cut my hand, but never mind. So now I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. Hopefully it won't hit the tripod too much. And obviously, because that's my dominant hand, it was like way easier. I do try and go under my chin just a little bit here. Okay, I seem to have sprung a couple of wee leaks. A bit annoying. So that's the hard bits done. Now, so as I said earlier, for beginners, you really just want to do your cheeks and that's it. Just concentrate on the cheeks for maybe a couple of weeks, just practice getting the angles right. When I first started, I watched these videos and these guys come over and with their hands like doing this sort of monkey impersonation and sort of stretching their skin, and I thought it was a bit of a waste of time. I didn't bother doing it, but then I've started doing it now, and what I find is it actually makes it easier to just, there seems to be a connection between the two hands as they come together, and almost like a sort of muscle memory that just makes it slightly easier. I can't really explain why, but it just is. Now I don't have much in the way of sideburns, so I tend to, what I do is I just line up the middle of my ear here with my eye with the blade like this before I actually connect, so that I'm always hitting exactly the same spot. You kind of learn where it is eventually. So you don't end up with uneven sideburns. So I start in there and then I basically just wipe that one away. And then obviously the other thing about bringing your hand over is it does allow you to sort of pull up. And again, use the whole of the blade, especially on your cheeks, because you know it's quite a wide area and you can really get some traction with just using the whole blade. And just come in, nice 30-degree angle. And you don't have to use that much pressure. And another good thing about using your hand to pull the skin up tight is you can actually get right underneath. The jawline. So I've actually done most of my neck there already just by doing that. And then I'll just continue with that side. And I cheat a bit because I'm using my right hand here, so I did come across quite a bit. To start with, on my cheek, under my jaw, under my ear at least, I do tend to. Now as well, I've got a bit here where the hairs go in the way. So when I do this bit, I tend to, instead of going straight down, I actually try and go sort of slightly against the grain into it, just to try and eliminate those ones. So another tip here is to, like, you can use your hands to sort of flatten out the hollow, the actual hollow that's on your neck there. It's quite easy, once you find the right spot, it's actually quite easy to just stretch the skin across and make it really nice and flat. Okay, so that's that side done. Now for some left hand work. So beginners, you just want to really experiment with the angle of the blade here. It should be 30 degrees somewhere like around about there. you'll know, because if you get it too far out, if you make the angle too big, you'll feel it, it'll really catch. It should be effortless. You know, if you get the angle right, basically the blade should just slice through the hairs without you even have to really push very hard at all. And again, pull it tight, get it right underneath this jawline. Just like that. And that's what's basically called a single pass shave. Now, apart from cutting myself a couple of times, which I'm not sure how I managed, that's a pretty good shave. That's like way better than any shave you ever get at a disposal, which is one of the main reasons why using a straight razor is so much better. It's also, I like doing it because it's just good practice to get that manual dexterity where you're forcing yourself to be ambidextrous. You know, you're learning something with your left hand, making your left hand do something that it's not used to doing. I just think it's good practice. Yes, I mean that's a good enough shave to take to the office. Not bad. Single pass. It took me a while there, but normally that's quite quick. You can do that in about 10-15 minutes. And that's you set for a day in the office. However, if you wanted a better shave than that, certainly if you are going to head out for a night out or a date, you might want to make it a bit smoother. So that's when we employ the going against the grain on a second pass. Which is always fun. So, again, I do this a bit differently. This is what I see guys online do. I start off really just by getting some lather on my neck. I'm not too worried about it being that thick, to be honest, because I'm only doing this small section. At least I'm just doing this section, and then I'm going to do my cheeks. I don't generally do against the grain on my chin, because it can't really take it. So, and this is where the straight razor gets its other name of a cutthroat razor, because you've got to be kind of careful here. The other thing is you change the grip a bit. Where normally I hold the razor like that to do the rest of my face. When it comes to doing this, I have to do a little bit of some strange different concoctions of grips. But in general, to start with, I'm just going to go straight up the middle here. The section here where the hairs grow out the way, I tend to try and dig back the way, which is kind of awkward as well, but I'll just show you what I mean. So straight up in the middle, basically, to start with. And this is especially good for getting the bit just under your chin, which you generally miss. It's hard to shave that efficiently coming in, just going with the grain. Right, so this is the bit where I'm going to sort of actually come across my face almost. And that way I'm hitting those awkward hairs. I'm going to leave that bit there just now. I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to take that out in a minute. But that's all I do. for that side. I'll cut myself again. As I said, I have very sensitive skin. And I think this razor is actually due for a sharpen, so it could explain why I'm cutting myself so much. So, so this area here on my neck, the hairs go out the way. So I have to change the grip again. This is where I have to do, I've never seen anyone else do this before, but I actually hold the razor like this, because it's the only way I can get the scales out of the way, because what I have to do is I have to come in the way like that, and it's the only way that I can get the scales out of the way. So it's quite awkward. So and then I'll get this bit. Nice. So now to finish off, we'll do the cheeks against the grain, which is actually the most pleasurable thing to do, and I can guarantee once I've done this, my skin will feel as smooth as any baby's bottom in the whole universe. Bit of a scrape just to get the last bit of good lather. And you'll hear guys saying, oh, you must keep your skin nice and tight if you're going to shave at all. But I don't bother here, and you'll see that this is really loose, but you just got to be super careful, especially going against the grain. That's really smooth. Perfect. And the very last bit. Oh, amazing. Honestly, you'll never get a shave like that anywhere, no matter what sort of fancy 5-bladed disposable razor you ever use. You will never get as smooth as that. It's just unbelievable, honestly. It's just so worth it. I would never... I shave straight razor every day now. I mean, I would never ever go back to using the disposal. Just so much nicer shave. It's an adventure every morning when you come in and actually start shaving. So I tend to, because I'm very careful when I rinse, I don't actually get water in the scales. So all I do to finish is I actually just take a fresh tissue, some toilet paper, and I just make sure the blade is super bone dry. Some guys put oil on it. I've never put oil on this, and it's still as good as new. I think as long as you make sure it's super dry, and just stick it somewhere where it gets a bit of air and out of the way of prying little fingers, obviously, because you don't want any accidents. Well, you don't want somebody dropping a razor and breaking it. Yeah, and then just to finish off, get all rinsed with some nice cold water. Nice, eh? I use this Nivea post shave balm. I put that on and that's basically it. Obviously rinse all your gear off. I like to just put the brush back in the mud afterwards, so it's got a chance to dry. What I do is I give it a wee, I wrap some tissue around the bottom and just set it in like that after everything's rinsed off, and that way everything stays nice and dry and the tissue paper wicks any moisture away. And that's it, that's all there is to it. So hopefully that's given some folk a bit of an idea of different ways of doing it that are maybe not quite the way you see some of the big guys online doing it, but certainly works for me. But obviously everybody's, like I say, everybody's face is different. You've got hairs growing out different ways. Some guys are really lucky and hardly get any hair and it's dead easy to shave, whereas I've got quite a thick growth. And super sensitive skin, as you can see. It's not very happy at the moment, but that'll calm down shortly, especially once I get some of that balm on it. So, okay, so hopefully that's helpful for some of you guys that are thinking about starting to use the straight razor. So, I'll see you later.